Well, welcome everyone to the United Way podcast. I'm Bryan Pederson. I'm a United Way enthusiast. I'm currently serve as a vice president of the board, but I've had a lot of different roles, and I'm here with my dear friends Trent and Tanya Keller, who are this year's campaign chairs, and we're going to talk about all things United Way. Thanks, guys, for doing this with me today. We'll have some fun here.
Thanks.
I was talking about what originally brought us into the United Way, and I one of the things that I was brought into the United Way, things that at least appealed to me early on, was the breadth and depth of the United Way. And that's nationwide, but really clearly in Laramie County, there's 20 partner programs. And so when you're giving to the United Way, you're giving to a lot of things.
Absolutely.
And that, to me, knows that a process is being vetted and we're touching the most people possible. And that was my real beginning and what drew me to it. What about you guys? What brought you into the United Way?
Well, funny enough, Bryan, I didn't know anything about United Way until I joined United Way.
Right.
So you'd actually asked me, said, hey, what do you think about being campaign co-chairs with Sarah and I, helping us out? United Way really needs a push to try to get funding back. I said, absolutely, I'm willing to help. However, I know nothing about it.
Sure.
So I had to do a little bit of research on it. And interesting enough, now, once I understand what it does, I have a true passion for it.
Yeah.
It's an amazing organization. The support that it gives to all of these nonprofits within Laramie County and greater Laramie County is really tremendous. It's really fantastic at how it operates. And I know we're here to talk a little bit about that today.
Yeah, for sure. Daniel, what about?
Well, I mean, much like Trent, I think we've all heard about United Way, but so much time we don't know
Right.
exactly what it is. And I have learned so much about it just being in this campaign, co-chair process with you guys. Being in the business of real estate for me, my business is not successful unless we have a successful community, a thriving business community. And so, helping the underserved areas in our community, and we cover so many with United Way. It's not just one. We don't have to choose just one, right? It lifts the whole community up, and hence it makes our community successful.
Yeah, I mean, a real big statement of success is that, as we know, the city and the county use the United Way
Absolutely.
to distribute their funds across all of these nonprofit organizations through a way that takes the political process out of it.
Yes.
So maybe you're a city councilman, your friends on some board. Well, this removes the look or even the perception that there could be some kind of influence there. And that's, I think, speaks to the United Way's ability to vet and do it in a transparent, accountable way. And I love that. The United Way has a long, rich history in Cheyenne. We have to speak to our chamber person about some of this. Tanya, what do you know about the long, rich history?
Well, this is actually something I recently learned. I'm also on the board of the Chamber of Commerce here in Laramie County as well. And I learned that the chamber is who initially started United Way of Laramie County years ago. And, again, I think that goes to the testament of how important the business community feels about helping to build our program partners in our community up, because I think some they go through phases of strong boards like these individual, and with United Way we're giving to all these organizations, whether they have a strong board or strong presence in their board at the time or not, they always have United Way backing them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we had United Way's also was created so long ago in Laramie County, but also it's had a rebuild, and I think it's important to think about the rebuild that we've had. And I think the difference that I can account for in what I believe the United Way has done over the years, because I talked to people who were giving in the 80s, giving in the 90s, giving these different times, and that is, I think the United Way really puts the ball in the hands of the partner programs, and I think that it used to be a little more driven by United Way's outcomes. Like these are the outcomes that we'd like to see.
Right.
And I think that it's really put into the hands of the partner programs. And I think that's pretty incredible.
It is. And what's really interesting too, and I think most people don't realize, is even us as United Way board members and United Way staff, we're not determining the program partners. We're not really determining who's getting what money. So there's an independent group within Laramie County. Really, they look at all of the applications. We're on a 3-year cycle for all of the nonprofits that we support. They submit applications, essentially say, here's what we're trying to do, here's the funding, here's why we need the funding, and more importantly, here's the results we're going to push for to get out of this. That independent review panel determines who is going to be part of our organization for funding that we're going to do. So our job really is to raise the funds, bring the funds in, make sure the funds are utilized properly, but we're not really determining who gets how much money and which groups are really getting this. This is an independent group that does this. There's not a bias in it. And that's why the city and the county really wants to utilize United Way, because it is so well done and so well controlled and stays in Laramie County, by the way, which is something we'll have to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to know that with our review process that we have with our program partners, we are looking at them to make sure they are doing the things with the money that they said that they were going to do. Because, as United Way, we're not only trying to fulfill the need, we need to eliminate the need as well, right?
Absolutely.
And so I think it's so important that and as our board and as our leadership that we have over United Way, I mean, there is a fiduciary obligation, and they are standing behind it.
hmm it's great to see the impact that it has, and I look at different ways this because I think, and the numbers are it's somewhat difficult to measure the total impact. I mean, you talk about our community schools, and we've got someone working in 2 of the community schools.
Right.
Now extrapolate that out to the Boys and Girls Club and CASA and Climb Wyoming. We're talking about thousands of people that are touched by the United Way of Laramie County every single year, and in ways that we don't know that our neighbors are being helped out. But when you look at like local business impact, I think one of the things that's unique about when a business participates in this, you become connected to the community. And that's where it's unique. You create corporate citizens, because once you start volunteering and giving, it connects you to your community and you're more likely to stay. So it's almost a business retention issue. So you have employee retention, get them involved in the community. And the United Way is a great path for that, to get these businesses to invest in the community through their employees. And then their employees are more engaged in the community, want to stay here longer. I think that's a great.
Yeah, it really is. And what's interesting too is, statistics show once you're involved in a community, you're more passionate about the community. And if you think you're not passionate about one of these organizations, call me. I'll take you to 3. You can choose whatever 3 you want to. You will walk out of every single one of those. Because when I joined United Way, I'm like, okay, I have a mission. I need to go out and actually see all these organizations, understand what they're doing, have a better idea of what's taking place. The first 3 I walked in, I actually knew nothing about. The first 3 I walked in, everyone I walked back out of, I'm like, this is an amazing program. Like, I want to not only be a part of United Way, I want to be a part of this organization. Then I walk to the second one. And I walk out and I say the exact same thing. Then I get to the third one. Pretty soon I'm like, holy cow, there are some amazing things taking place out here in the community. The problem is now we actually need more support. And that's why we're here.
Certainly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's important, and back to getting the businesses involved. I've seen so many businesses in town have fun with this, right? Which again, it builds to the rapport in your company. Gosh, Jonah Bank is a great example. I mean, they have very close to 100% employee participation. Cheyenne Regional Medical Center, they do fun things to help promote the campaign and give to United Way. And then you have individuals in our community. Gosh, everybody knows Gay Woodhouse, right? She is just a beast for the United Way, and uses her professionalism and her social equity, everything that she has, to give it all for United Way. And then
they really are cool bonding things. The line team just did a tamale sale where you can go buy tamales. Who doesn't like to eat? Right?
Sure,
Who doesn't
sure.
like
we're about to
homemade
get some of
tamales?
those.
So at the same time, we ordered a whole bunch of tamales. I'm like, I will get these from my office, bring them to my office. And what a great program they set up to raise funds for United Way, making tamales as a group, right?
For sure.
And selling those as a community.
Yeah.
What a fun thing to do. There are so many ways businesses can get involved, not just monetarily, but time through employees, doing some of these charitable things, getting involved in other areas. And I would be remiss if I didn't tell you, one of the highest demand spots right now as an individual is young men. Young men that are out there, professional world and otherwise. If you like to fish, if you like to hunt, if you like to go skateboard, if you like to do anything else, there are groups in this community that are just begging for volunteers to come help and hang out with the kid. Come hang out with the person. They need some mentors. They need cool things to do. They may not have that role model at home. They need that. And those are the kind of organizations that United Way supports.
It's an opportunity to give and connect with the community in different ways. So as companies want to get involved, there's a whole bunch of ways that the United Way can help facilitate that and make it fun. Make it fun for the employees to be part of the solution and part of helping our community.
Right. What a bonding time too. As an organization and a business, when we go to work, I have my organizations, I have my employees that are there, but we're working, right? And you're bonding with your friends, you're having a good time when it's there. But it's completely different when you get outside of that business setting. You're taking time, you're doing good community things, And now all of a sudden you're becoming friends with the other guy too. It's beyond just a work level. And as an owner of a business, there is nothing better than when you see your employees bonded with each other, because now all of a sudden, even at work, you're a whole lot tighter, because now it's not me against Bryan. It's me working with Bryan. And I know Bryan on a little bit better personal level, because we cut that tree down for that guy who couldn't get access to his front door. And that was actually things that took place. It was amazing.
It is. It's great to bond over that. And it's great to bond over growing our community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And maybe Bryan, like somebody's listening to this right now and, they're an employee with a company that's not part of this, right? Be that employee that goes to your employer and says, hey, what if I were to kind of organize something with our company? I guarantee you most employers would be so ecstatic to have an employee approach them, because not only is it just like showing you have one heck of an employee, right, that's going to stand up in a leadership role for something like this. It's going to be great visibility for your company, right? Which is like never the reason to give, but it's always a great side effect of giving, and so, so if you're listening to this and you don't have something going, go to your employer.
Yeah. And it's a great way, as you said, to showcase that you care about the community.
Really
and a lot of businesses help with putting up the United Way logo, putting up the "We care, we give, we're here." That's important to show that in your business, because it shows you're engaged, and it's a nice way to show that you care about the community in which you live.
It is. And one of the big benefits too as a business owner is so we're in multiple states, we have multiple locations. We get contacted a lot for all of the right reasons about please support this, please donate to this area. It is really hard as a business leader to try to figure out which ones are we going to support, which ones do we not want to support, how do we want to take care of this. United Way is an absolutely amazing way to say, here is what I'm going to support, because I'm covering every area. I'm covering health. I'm covering kids that have issues. I'm covering homelessness. I'm covering, economic mobility, trying to move people up. And the best part, as you had mentioned earlier too, is that this is a results-driven organization. We're not just saying, we're going to fund you for the rest of your life because you need the funding the rest of your life. We want to see you taking steps and changes to move the people that are utilizing these resources to where they need to be independent. And once you're involved with these, to see some of the people who typically, by the way, if you use one of these partners, you're probably using more than one.
Yes.
Right? Maybe you're a single mom who's really struggling to figure out, what's my next career? What do I do with my kids when I'm trying to develop my next career? There are groups that are like, okay, here's what you're going to do. Here's the process. Here's the plan. And there is nothing better than seeing people who just can't figure out how to get that next step in life to all of a sudden step out of that. And now a lot of times they actually come back and now they're supporting the United Way, because they're like, this is what we did. Like they helped me get out of where I was. And now I'm a successful, great contributor to, the local community. And that's what I want to support.
I think that you just kind of touched on it, but I like to tell businesses who want to be involved, because we all get asked.
Yes.
I just actually asked Tanya to buy a card from I was doing some fundraising for Central Cheer the other day. We all get asked for things.
Sure.
But I think by giving to United Way, you have a structured process that has a vetting process that is accountable, consistent, and transparent in the manner in which it does. And it gives you this, say, I'm doing this, because we all give money to a nonprofit and we hope.
Right. Absolutely.
We hope. And we've heard these horror stories about places that the money is not going to the end user. It's going to build up some wild other thing or expenditures on different pieces.
Yes.
And the reality is because of the structure of the United Way, it's going to the user, because they're creating those 1, 2, and 3 year glide paths that have accountability with them. And that's the biggest thing that you can say is we're already supporting, because most of the places that will come to you as a business are already supported by the United Way. So they come and say, I am supporting you. I'm supporting you through the United Way already. And they're very grateful for that.
Yep. Well, and I think it's important to stay too, and to reiterate that the money that you donate to United Way in Laramie County stays in Laramie County.
Huge.
This is where the funds go. And it's wonderful. Other areas need, support. But we're Laramie County. I want to support my local community. I want to be helping the people that I see day in, day out, and these struggles that I see from a community standpoint. And to know that when I submit money to this organization, it is here in Laramie County, it is utilized properly, and it's tracked and monitored, and there's feedback cycles, all independently from a community group, to make sure things are being done well.
I think that's a huge piece.
Absolutely reiterating too, that is probably one of the number one questions and misconceptions that I receive from United Way. People, for whatever reason, have a bad taste in their mouth sometimes, and maybe it's from years past, I have no idea. But it's, the money that we're giving to you guys, 40% of it's going to go to the corporate mothership, and these guys are doing whatever. No, that does not take place. Your money is here in Laramie County, and it is minimal amount that goes to United Way corporate.
Do you guys have other questions that people ask you? I mean, what are the questions when we walk around and we hear, hey, what about this? Other pieces you've heard from the community?
Yep.
Gosh, I think just when it comes to an in particular nonprofit in general, when people are concerned about the time commitment, right? And it is so minimal, right? The time commitment to serve on a board
Mhm.
or whatnot. And I think the biggest reason that we're called the United Way is because the volume matters. Like the amount of people, we're not just a small one. We're large, and if everybody does a little, there's such a big impact. And so I think that that's probably one of the most common questions I get asked on the time commitment of serving on the board or volunteering for the United Way and other organizations is I just don't have the time for it.
Mm,
And that's a bad excuse.
for
You
sure.
always have time.
Absolutely.
It's how you manage it.
Yeah, I typically get two questions. One, what's the financial side of it? Where are the funds being used? Hopefully, we've addressed that and put that to bed, and people are welcome to come look. They're audited independently, so we know what takes place. The second one is, how do we get involved?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So now I'm committed. Now I understand it a little bit better. I have a little bit more of a passion for it. How do I get involved with United Way? How do I get involved with some of these organizations? You can always contact us. If you want to make it super simple right off
Mm,
the bat, contact us. We'll help you
Mm.
to get more involved, not just monetarily, but from a time standpoint. Generally speaking, my thought process is, what's your passion? And if you don't know what your passion is yet, we'll take you to a few organizations. You'll figure out real quick where your heart is. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I want to be involved more in this. I want to be more engaged in this area also. But there are so many things that take place. You can go to our website
mm.
and look at things that are coming out from a community standpoint. There are fundraisers all the time. Last week was actually one of my favorite events the entire week at Boys and Girls Club, the back to school
Oh,
Yeah.
bash,
yes.
Yeah.
which is phenomenal. And the number of people who show up to the Boys and Girls Club to get free haircuts, dental checks, eye checks, coats that Tina and I handed out to kids, which is amazing watching their kid go pick out,
Yeah.
a new
On a
coat
90-degree day.
on a 90-degree day.
Yeah.
And then I was telling them all, you got to try this on. They're just like, why am I trying this on? I'm like, you got to make sure it fits.
Yeah.
But 90 today, I get that. Backpacks. Backpacks are where it's at. The
You
kids love
told me
their
the backpack's the whole thing, isn't it?
Oh man.
Oh,
And there
yeah.
are groups and organizations like Black Hills within Laramie County, some of these organizations that are donating these things for these kids who don't have some of these resources at home, or maybe whose parents are struggling a little bit. Uh, there's a plethora of ways to get involved, and it's fun, really interesting things to do. And you will go home, by the way, as the expression goes, you put a little bit in, you're going to come back with a whole lot more. You
Oh, yeah.
come back and just feel absolutely fantastic, and get your family involved. Bring your kids along, as you well know, right?
Yeah.
You've had your kids highly involved for a lot of years, and it's really cool. They grow up to be really good citizens and understanding that there's more to life than just going to work and coming home.
I think that that's so important too, and we encourage people to involve their kids. I forced my children to be co-chairs, and
Yeah.
I like to tell this story. I was involved in politics. I served in the state legislature from '04 to 12, and but I didn't know that everybody didn't, because
Right.
everybody who came to my house was elected or a lobbyist or something,
Yeah.
because you live in a myopic world of the people that you surround yourself with. So I just did that. Well, I think that community service works that way too. My folks were involved in stuff when I was little, and I grew up just thinking that you just volunteer your
Right.
time. And it was actually Al Simpson said it about politics. He said once politics is like embalming fluid. Once it gets in your body, you can't get it out. And I think that community service is the same. And you make that decision. So I brought my kids in to be part of that. But what's great is you get community partners like Luke Sarn from Advanced Air. He said he didn't get involved in anything till he was 40 because he didn't
Yeah.
grow up there.
Right.
And he said, I want to change that. And his
Yeah.
company does some great things in this community
They absolutely
and
do.
come out and support the community. And he's done some, made that choice. So whether or not you start out or jump in later, there's some need. But I think that one of the biggest calls that we need to be thinking about right now is your grocery bill up?
Absolutely.
Is your I'm paying a wild amount more in property tax.
Right.
We have my heating bills up, maybe going down. I got one kid in college, so maybe that light will stay off a little longer. We'll see. But all of those are true of all of the partner programs.
Mhm.
Their light bill is up. Their food bill is up. Their gas bill is up. And if you think about the call to actions now, inflation has adjusted everything. I've shared the story. Sarah and I's first house was $120,000.
Mhm.
You know that there's pickups right now
Yeah.
Right.
for 120,000, like a truck,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's wild. And so that need continues to grow. And so we have to be the organization that's growing and helping people with that need.
Yes.
And it's
Right.
really bigger than ever as costs are up. The
Yeah.
need is there. And that's why we want these companies to step forward.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it is important to tell people too, so they understand that during COVID, all of the nonprofits were hit unbelievably hard. 40 and 50% reduction in donations that were out there in the community. And by the way, just so everybody understands, what does that mean? That means we're helping less people in the community. We can do less into the community. At United Way, one of our greatest areas we used to be able to raise funds was actually through payroll deduction. That was a huge portion of it. That has been fading so incredibly hard. We are pushing really hard right now. If you are a business leader within your organization, please allow us to come in, have a conversation, encourage your employees to donate. It can be a cup of coffee, monetarily worth on a month. These small amounts add up to huge amounts in the long term. And we've got to get this back embedded into our community, or what's going to happen? If we don't have United Way sitting right here, who's going to manage the county and the city funds, all the organizations, making sure the money is being spent really well, what's going to happen? What happens as a community if we don't have this organization sitting in place? We've got to push this not only to where we were, but above that, because as you mentioned, inflation has been huge. All of these
Yeah.
organizations are just, it's incredibly expensive now.
Well, and let's also talk about the elephant in the room too, right? Where you're saying how expenses are up, but giving is down.
Giving is
Yeah.
down.
So it's taking us in this reverse situation that we do not need to be in, and is very scary for how this looks, because who manages it? If you're not giving to United Way and these nonprofits, the need doesn't go away, right?
Absolutely.
So who is going to take that over? And guess what that probably looks like,
I tell you,
right?
it looks like the
Yeah,
government has to
looks
take
like
it
the
over
government.
because that's the reality of things. So we give of ourselves as in the community, and therefore we're able to keep the cost down in the United Way.
Right.
Our administration, our overhead costs, everything is lower. If things like the United Way and the 20 partner programs aren't
Yes.
there, it will be taken over because the need doesn't go away. The government
That's
will
right.
take it over. And what you have then is the government famous for doing things without a lot of bureaucracy and cheap. I mean,
Right.
so
Totally.
and so what you'll end up doing, and what I mean by that is you'll end up paying taxes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your taxes will go up. And so instead of giving, $3 a day equivalent, that's what I spend on coffee. I go get an espresso, it's $3, spend $3 a day and give that to United Way. Do that, or you're going to pay 3x, 5x that
Right.
through
Right.
taxes, because those needs have to be addressed. And as a nation, we will do that. And we want to do it with a nonprofit through our own dollars,
Right.
as opposed to having it being taken over by a larger bureaucracy.
Yeah.
And having
that's
the
a
option
huge
of,
deal.
and having the option of sending the funds where you want to send it.
Absolutely.
Right. These are
Yeah.
amazing organizations.
Yes.
If it's through a tax, which is really what it comes down to. If it came through a tax, you're not going to have control and be able to manage where your money is going.
Yes.
This is an amazing way to do this, and it's needed in the community. It steps people up, and as we all know, when they can get those few steps up, now all of a sudden you're taking off on your own. It's better all in all.
Well, in addition to just flagging down the three of us on the street, if people want to get involved, and that's just fine. If you see me
Yes.
walking, you can walk up to me and say, "Hey, Brian, how do I
Happy
get
to have
involved?
a discussion.
What are some other ways about getting a hold of the
Absolutely.
United Way and getting involved?"
Website's a great way.
Yeah.
Look at the website, get a better idea. It explains to you what's taking place, where United Way is. You can come into the office. Chris Whitfield, our executive director, absolutely fantastic. You can always contact her as well. Get involved in some of the organizations. Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of ways to get involved.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, getting your organization, your company, your business involved, I think that's one of the biggest call to actions, right? Do something within your organization. It's going to create a great morale in your company, and you're going to be giving to a huge need that we need more fulfillment in our community.
And I think that the thing that the United Way is extremely good at is once they're contacted, they'll send one of us probably,
Yes.
but they'll also send the other board members and other volunteers to your business and help you build that structure and help you
Yes.
say, well, this is what it looks like. This is what a payroll deduction looks like.
Right.
This is what a fundraiser would look like. This is the need why, and this is what we'll talk about.
Yes.
And we'll
Yeah.
just come in there and talk to you about it and help build maybe a culture of giving within each one of those businesses. And
Mhm.
that's great. And that's
Yeah.
what we want to see more of.
Well, and I'd like to read, because the two of you maybe don't have your weekly office meetings, and I do. And so, the worst thing ever is if you get somebody really windy that's going to come in there for a half an hour and bore you. Our talk, our discussion that we come into your office, it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's very quick, to the point. Will be fun and energetic, and we won't take up too much of your time to get our point across.
And I'm happy also to host a business at Westby Edge or any
Yes.
other business in
Absolutely.
town. And I do a happy hour to talk to folks about it, because I believe that much in what the United Way is doing, and I want to share that with as many people in our community as we can. And I think that's a great opportunity, whether we can get together at the office or get together afterwards or for breakfast or different ways to get them in, and hopefully maybe we meet with the management and then meet with all the employees.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No, it's a great way to do it.
Well, guys, thanks for doing this today.
Thank you very
Here
much.
we go. This is a great
thank
day.
you.
We appreciate
Great
it.
day for the first United Way podcast here. So what do you guys
Absolutely.
want? Should we do it tomorrow too?
Yeah. Let's
Okay,
do it.
great. We'll be back. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.